ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेमदेवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ प्रज्ञानां शुप्रतानैः स्थिरजरनिगरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्टान् पुनरपि दिषणोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपिति मधुरभुङ्मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परम् अमृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि। न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः न बद्धो न च साधकः न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः इत्येषा परमार्थता। न निरोधः न च उत्पत्तिः न बद्धः न च साधकः न मुमुक्षुः न वा मुक्तः इति एषा परमार्थता. There is nothing called resolution or pralaya, nor is there anything in reality as creation. Why? Because the conclusion based on the Vaitatyam of Jagat, the conclusion is that all that is here is mithya. There is no reality in the duality that you are seeing. So the Dvaitasya Vaitatyam, once it is established, there is no question of its creation or pralaya. When there is no reality to what we consider as born, there is no question of birth. Like a Sashavishana, a rabbit's horn is never born, nor it fades away. It is only kalpita. Therefore, na nirodha na cha utpattihi. So there is no creation. There is no duality. There is no true creation, no real duality. If there is no real duality, there is no real jiva, there is no real jagat, there is no real Ishvara. Then where is the question of baddhaha or sadhakaha or mumukshuhu or muktaha? This whole pursuit of being freed from bondage itself is untrue. So we can now see, it is very important to understand this, because if you can ever be a bound person, then you can never actually be permanently free of it, because it can always come back. So if I am vulnerable to viral infection, just because it goes away once doesn't mean that it won't come back again. again. So which means if if it is possible for you to be baddha, then this nitya muktatvam and all that is not possible. So if you are nitya mukta, then there is no mukti, honestly. So mukti means getting freed. A person who is nitya mukta, nitya shuddha, nitya buddha cannot be said to be mukta, because there should have been a state of bondage at some point in time for you to claim that you are a mukta purusha. But you are never baddha. So if you are never a baddha, where is the question of you being a mukta? So if there is no baddhatvam, nor there is muktatvam, where is the question of mumukshutvam or sadhaka dharmaha? So when Dvaitam is not there in reality, because there is no reality to what exists as dual, there is no question of a creation or a pralaya or a moksha or a baddhatvam, nothing. All this is from the standpoint of vastu, paramarthatha. From the standpoint of the vastu, it never changed, it remains as it is. Like we saw in the earlier session, then why are we talking about? So there are two types of lakshanas that Shastra talks about. One is Swarupa Lakshana, the other is Tatastha Lakshana. The Swarupa Lakshanam is the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. What is Brahman? It's a Swarupam is told as this is what is Brahman. Another is Tatastham, which is where all the Avastatraya or Srishtivada, Panchikaranam, all these things are spoken about. The idea is to show that this Ananta Brahma, so when we say Satyam Jnanam Anantam, the Anantatvam, in order to be established, you need to understand that all that you see as duality here in the world is nothing but Brahman. Then only that Ananta Pada becomes meaningful. Because Antavatvam means it is being constrained, limited. There is nothing to limit it. Because everything, including space and time, is nothing but the Brahmavastu, Atmavastu only. Therefore, this is the Paramartha reality. That is what Acharya, Gaudapada Acharya's, this concluding verse, it is the Sara of this Prakarana. Dvaitasya Vaitatyam establishes that there is no Baddhaha Sadhakaha Mumukshuhu Muktaha. Then naturally the question is, if all this is negated, then is Gaudapadacharya also saying all that is here is Shunyam? There is no underlying cause. See, even Dvaitis, they look upon Advaitas, Vichara in the same way. If you listen to Dvaita Acharyas today, or even even I don't know about Visishta Advaitis that much, but they also do the same thing. But Dvaitis particularly are very aggressive in their point of view that Advaita talks the language of Buddha. Advaiti is saying Jagan Mithya. Okay. So Mithyatvam for them, for of the Jagat, is not establishable because the Pratyaksha Anumana Shabda, all three of the pramanas that they speak about, point to certain validity of pramana vyavahara, and that pramana prapta jnanam, which is about the dual world, cannot be dismissed. And this jagat, they don't call it mithyatvam, they say maya. maya mayam jagat iti, they say that Advaitis talk about, is not establishable because the Dvaitam is pramana praptam. My eye is a valid pramana, my eye is seeing something. There is a vyavahara which is possible, and that vyavahara which is brought by valid means of knowledge, which is my eyes, ears, nose, and all that, establishes the reality of the Jagat. Therefore, Vyavaharika Satya, it's not a Vyavaharika Satta, it is Vyavahara becoming a Satyatvam, a Satyam by itself, establishes that the world exists. And the Advaiti is just dismissing it as Maya without any validity, because there is no Shastra, Shabda Pramana validity of it, nor there is, yeah, the Laukika Anubhava validating it. So there is nothing called Advaya Brahmavastu. So there is all this Dvaitam is all Pramana Praptam, and within that the Shastra comes and talks about the Shabda Pramana, talks about various karma and all these things. Therefore, all this is real, is what they say. And the other end, the Bauddhas who claim that there is a drishtanashta swabhava of everything that is here. Anything you see doesn't stand the test of time, nor do they stand the test of analysis. Therefore, there is no adhara, it is all niraspadam, everything is shunya. This is another end of the spectrum. Now, within this, all the Siddhantas, all the philosophies fall, like we have seen. So, the difference is only in terms of the duality being established. Then, how many different ways can you define this Jagat? Does it have 25 principles, 31 principles, 36 principles, 3 principles, whatever it is? The duality is real, then the modeling of this Jagat varies. Okay, Sankhya says something, Nayayika says something, Pashupadas says something, right? So, the Vaikanasa, all these people, each one have their own way of looking at this Dvaita. Dvaitam is Satyam because it's obtained by my Pramana, which is eyes, ears, nose, whatever, and the world is there. Then there is different kind of modeling. These are different gradations, variations of how this whole world is being analyzed. So we need to address one of them. I mean, we need to accept one of them. Either say it is a niraspada, everything is maya, like everything is shunya, there is no reality, it's all maya. So that is one end. Or the pakshadvaya only is possible, is what they will say. So either you are a Bauddha, Sunyavadi, or you are Dvaiti, which are different types of Vyavahara possible. Different kinds of interpretation possible, depending on whether you follow Sankhya or Nayayika's philosophy, or Madhva philosophy, or Visishtadvaita philosophy, whatever it is. The gunas and the various vikalpas are true. Within that, you look at, like our scientists are also looking at it that way. Therefore, since Advaita doesn't fit into the Dvaita, so they bucket Advaiti along with the Bauddha. Both are, people who are Shunyavadis only. So this particular shloka also seems to suggest na nirodha, na cha utpattihi, na baddha, na cha sadakaha, na mumukshu, na vamuktaha. None of this. There is no world, there is no creation, there is no destruction, there is no moksha, there is no muktaha, there is no baddha, there is no sadhaka, there is no. So, sunya. So, you are also Avaidika only in the form of being a follower of Vedanta Shastra, Veda Shastra. You are propagating what was propagated by Buddhas by negating Veda. So Buddha negated Veda. So you are accepting Veda and telling the same thing. This is their contention. This is not a contention which was there 2000 years back. This is a very active contention that is there even today. You listen to the Ashtamata arguments and all that. This is a argument they keep. So, and any vichara you take there, the Pratamalla Nyayena, all of them, whether it is ISKCON or Dvaiti or Vishtadvaiti, whatever, Buddhism is almost not part of most of those debates. So, Advaita is what is picked up as the contention that they are contesting against and is taken up for discussion, which is okay, which is fine. But now let us look at, because we are doing a vichara here, we need to understand what does the Shastra actually reveal and how that is that vision is achieved is to be understood. And like I have always said, the phala, what is the objective of this is actually moksha. That is why any Shastra we are studying for the cause of moksha only. It's not to do a samsara vyavahara better. Even the samsarika vyavahara that Dvaitis and all these people also emphasize on is towards moksha only. But for them, moksha is Ishvara Prasada, and then after your jnana, then again you do karma, then through Bhagavat Prasada you gain moksha, which is going to some loka. But still, the fact is that they are also aspiring for moksha, liberation from the samsarika dukkha. That much is common across all of us. Now, here we say there is no baddhaha, na sadakaha, na mumukshuhu, na vai muktaha. So you are saying this whole shastra is irrelevant because there is no moksha. This is a moksha shastra, but a moksha shastra you are saying doesn't give you moksha. That is the question. Prakaranartha upasamharartha ayam shlokaha. It is conclusion of this entire prakarana. This shloka is. In fact, it is the sara of this prakarana. It is the essence because it is a Vaitatya prakarana. Yada vitatam dvaitam atma eva ekaha paramartataha sanne. Paramartataha atma eva ekaha. Bhashyakara brings, because this particular verse doesn't talk about atma eva ekaha. It only says dvaitam vitatam. But Bhashyakara adds, obviously Gaudapada Karika at many places has spoken about Atma, but in this verse it is not mentioned. So Bhashyakara adds this yada vidatam dvaitam Atma eva ekaha paramarthataha sanne. This dvaitam, which is vitatam, is Atma eva. Paramarthataha Atma eva ekaha eva. There is no dual, there is only one. So, this negating the duality implies there is non duality, which is in Atmastu. Tada idam nishpannam bhavati. It is clearly established what? Sarvoyam laukikaha vaidikascha vyavaharaha avidya vishayaha eveti. All the laukika and vaidika activities avidya vishayaha eva. The activities are within the realm of duality, which is caused by the ignorance, lack of knowledge. Vyavahara itself means what? Duality. There should be karaka vyavahara, subject object duality, and the instruments are also objects. Instrument, adhisthana, sampradana, apadana, all these karakas have to be there for any vyavahara. And we generally divide it into laukika and vaidika. See, laukika can also be vaidika influenced vyavahara. Like when you are eating food, if you do parishechanam, pranaya swaha, it is a vaidika vyavahara. When you are taking bath, you do sloka and then do take bath with the snana sankalpa, it is a vaidika vyavahara. Everything can become, even the laukika vyavahara is converted into vaidika vyavahara if by adopting certain things. But generally we call certain things as laukika vyavahara, which where we don't bring in influence of Veda there, if we do. And even if we bring in the Vedic way of doing, still certain things can be called Laukya Vyavahara because the primary purpose of it is to fulfill your specific worldly things only. But try to make it a little Vedic. So that if you divide it that way, Laukikaha, Vaidikascha, Vyavaharaha, Sarve Avidya Vishayaha eva. Why? Because without an assumption of duality, all those actions are not perceived, are not pursued. So you assume that you are a benefactor, beneficiary, one of that, and then only that action takes place. So there is a kartri karma, subject object, then you are sukhi dukhi, all this are assumed. I am going to be happy by doing this, then only you get into a vyavahara. Or I need to do this action so that I can benefit somebody else, or this is my duty, so I am doing something. But the fact that I am doing implies it is under, first of all, I as an entity is recognized as other than what is being acted upon, and then there are objects of action, instruments of action. So every vyavahara, whether it is a physical vyavahara or even you watching a movie, whatever it is, all of those things are avidya vishayaha eva. Because the moment you say dvaita is avidya, all these automatically are avidya vishaya only. Because every vyavahara is within the realm of the dvaita. Vyavaharika satyam is what we say, right? That vyavahara. Therefore, even the Vaidika Vyavahara, which is about moksha, that also, like Baddhaha, Sadhakaha, Mumukshuhu, Muktaha, this also implies you are taking yourself as a jiva who is bound, Baddhaha, now you want to get liberated. You think it is real that you are a Baddha, therefore you are seeking it. So Shastra also comes and says, yeah, you are seeking, this will give you moksha. Just like Shastra tells you, if Swargagamo yajeta, by doing this yajna, you will get heaven through punya. What is it assumes? It sanctions your assumption that you are a jiva, you have punya papa, so you want to go to a loka. It gives you certain means to do it. With the same playing along with you. Okay. Similarly, since you are taking yourself as Baddha, it gives you a moksha sadhana. Nothing wrong. But that is not Paramarthata, that is Vyavaharikena eva. Tada na nirodha, nirodhanam, nirodha, pralayaha. It is not self-control here, it is pralayaha. Nirodha means Utpattihi, Jananam, birth, Baddha, Samsari, Jivaha. Samsari Jiva is who is called Baddha. I am an individual within this total, and I need to get liberated because I am being kicked around in this samsara always after subject object looking for some happiness. So I need to get freed from all this. So long as I am Jiva, I will remain Baddha. So I have to become something other than this Jiva, who is a Mukta Purusha. Then I will be free. This is what is the assumption. That is the Baddha Samsari Sadakaha Sadhanavan Mokshasya, which is what we just described. Mumukshu Mochanarti Muktaha Vimukta Bandhaha. Okay. So these are all also within the avidya vyavahara eva. Utpatti pralayoho abhavad baddadayaha na santi iti esha paramarthata. So when there is no creation, there is no jagat which is true, then where is the question of a jiva being true? And if jiva, which jiva means baddha, if that itself is not true, everything that follows like sadhana, moksha, mumukshutvam, all these are also not Paramartha Satyam. They have a Vyavaharika Satyam, like a pot holds water, that's fine. But its reality is only clay. The dukkha of pot's smallness, blackness, all those doesn't stick to the clay because there is no Satyatvam of pot. Paramarthikena. There is only Vyavaharika Satyatvam. Katam utpatti pralayayoho abhavaha iti uchyate. How is it so? Dvaitasya asatvat. So dvaitam asatyam. How do you say? So Shastra only he quotes. Because I already said in the last session, Shastra is what is being taken by the Purva Pakshi here because Yatova imani bhutani jayante Shrutivakya Janmadhyasya yataha, like we said. So the definition of Brahman itself is from which the whole Srishti has come about, which we anyway said is the Tatastha Lakshana, not Swarupa Lakshana. But because Shastra has said, because otherwise Shastram will become meaningless. So you are saying you are a Vaidika and you are, Vaidika Darshana, your Shastra, your Pramana is Vedanta Shastra only. And it is the Veda which says that all this is born Akasha Sambhutaha, Akasha Dvayuhu, all these things are born out of Atma. So whole creation is from this Brahman. So this can't be like whatever so many places Shastra has said the whole birth is from it. Now that means how can you say that now Utpatti? Because Shastra itself has said there is Utpatti. Now the question is where is the Tatparyam? Is the Utpatti spoken about to show the Anantatyam of Brahmavastu, or is the Tatparyam to show that the Srishta Jagat Srishti is Satyam? See, any Srishti means what? Srishti means it is not different from the Karanam. Karyam Karanat Ananyate. That is the Siddhanta. The what is the product is not separate from the cause. So that is Ananyatvam, what is to sought to be established, therefore Anantatvam is established. That is the thing. But now this Purvapakshi is asking, the Srishti is spoken about by Shastra, how can you negate it? So Bhashyakara quotes alternate Shrutis to show that while creation is spoken about, it is also established through other Shruti Vakyas that Dvaitam doesn't exist. So the Srishti is only as though Srishti. To establish, he quotes Yatrahi Dvaitam Iva Bhavati. So that Iva is what is important. Like we said, as though there is Dvaitam. There is Shruti Vakya, Brihadarnika. This is not some Kurma Purana verse. Okay, this is Shruti Vakya, Dvaitam Iva Bhavati. Yatra, in this Jagat, it is appearing as though Dvaitam, what is there is only Advayam Brahma. And this is not an isolated Shruti, there are many other Vakyas. Ityadinana Shrutibhyaha. What another thing he quotes, Ye Ihanana Iva Pashyati. You only see it as many, but there is no many. Nana Iva Pashyati. There is no Nana. But what is there? Atmaiva Idam Sarvam. So whatever is seen as this Idam Tada Atmaiva, the Satta, this easiness of everything is provided by the Atma. Just to look at anything like we saw in the last session, everything, where is the easiness coming from? In anything that you see, perceive, the easiness is provided by the Atma Vastu. The easiness is coming from you. Satta Pradhanam. Not only Satta Pradhanam, Spurti Pradhanam also is from you. Inert objects, they don't have capacity to reveal themselves. They have to be revealed by your Swarupa. So their existence is established because of the Satta and Spurti which is provided by your Swarupa. If your Swarupa is not there, there is no existence for anything. This is the fundamental. I don't think Dvaitis get it. Any existence of Jadavastu is only if it is pervaded by Chaitanyam. Without Chaitanya Vyapti, there is no Jagat possible. And every moment, even the time and space and objects, every concept is at all times pervaded only by your Atma Vastu. There is nothing which is there not pervaded by your Atma Vastu. So simple. You cannot even think of it. You can't think of anything. The moment you say I think means you are already there. And anything that is thought or seen or touched or smelled or whatever is pervaded by your Swarupa, therefore Atmeva Idam Sarvam. Idam Sarvam. The Sarvatvam also, Nanatvam is also on what? On your Atma only. It's whole. So that's why this Idam Sarvam. That Idam is has its existence on Atma. That is only the only Satyam. And that cannot be dismissed. If a Buddhist comes and dismisses that nothing exists, there is no underneath, to even say that that statement has to be pervaded by your Swarupa. And Dvaitis, I am very surprised because they don't have an intent to understand what is being said here. They are saying your pramana is revealing Dvaitam. No, your pramanas, which are eyes and nose, are only revealing Advaitam because the operation of pramana and objects that the pramana goes and vritti rupena in the form of vritti it pervades. In order for you to gain that jnanam of any vastu, it is non-separable or inseparable, not separate from your swarupa, which is providing the spurti for that vritti itself. So every Dvaita experience establishes your Swarupa. Every experience. Pratibodha viditam matam avritatvam hi vindate. Every cognition establishes existence of Sadvastu. Anchidvastu, Chinmatratvam. Because the moment I have a Dvaita experience means already the experiencer's Surupa is pervading it. Otherwise, where is Dvaita Anubhava? Anyway, Brahmaiva idam sarvam. All that is here is Brahman. Brahma Brihi Vriddhav. Okay, again, that which is Anantam, that is Brahma. That idam sarvam is Anantam means there is only one Vastu again. Ekameva Advitiyam. Ekameva Advitiyam. Sajatiya Vijatiya Swagata Bedarahityam is what is said by Ekam Eva Advitiyam. There is no Sajatiyatvam, there is no Jati, there is no group. Okay. This, and because there's only one Vastu, there is no Vijatiyatvam, there is no one Jati. Where is the question of second Jati? And there is no Sogatatvam also is not there. So there's no Sogata Beda. Brahma, being Nirvisesha Chaitanyam, there is no attribute. Chinmatra Vastu, where is the question of Avayava? So there is no Swagata Bedam, there is no hand or leg or eyes or, because there is no attribute. It's attribute free. Just Chinmatram. All the attributes are by themselves Jada only. Because they need to be illuminated by Chitvastu only, right? Then only attribute can gain its existence. The existence of attribute is what? A color or a form or a sound, whatever, right? These are attributes. And they have to be lighted up. They are not Swayam Jyotihi, they are not Swaprakasa. Attribute means they have to be lighted up in order for their existence. Simple. Therefore, there is no Swagata Beda. There cannot be any attribute for Chinmatra Vastu. Idam Sarvam Yadayam Atma. So these are almost, it is Atme Vidam Sarvam is the same thing. Idam Sarvam Yadayam Atma. So both the Upanishad Chandogya and Brihadaraniga talks the same thing. Ityadi Nana Shrutibhyaha Dvaitasya Asatvam Siddham. Why Nana Shruti? Why we have to quote Nana Shruti, many Shruti Vakyas? Because again, see this Abhyasa, the repetition of the same thought, same vision is a very important criteria to determine the Tatparya. Tatmarya Linga, one of the thing is what is being repeated. So if you don't show the same Vakyas in many Shrutis, many Upanishads, there can be a contention that you are misinterpreting a particular Vakya because the context is different. Like Dvaiti will comes and says Atma Tatvamasi. Because Abhyasa of Tatvamasi is there everywhere. This is their argument. I was listening to it. There is a repeated usage of Tatvamasi. So leave all the Upakrama Upasamhara. See, there was this contention by whoever was, there was the Vakyartha Vichara which was going on, and Advaiti was saying, look at the context. Tadeva Samedam Agrasi, Ekameva Dvitiyam. All this is spoken about. There is a Upakrama Upasamhara. So within that only Tattvamasi is spoken. So you have to look at the whole thing. But Dvaiti says, no, no, no. It's Abhyasa. This Tattvamasi is being repeated so many times. And Tattvamasi cannot be understood if you assume that that Abeda is what is spoken about. If Abeda is what is intended in Tattvamasi, then this sentence itself doesn't make sense. Like they say, Gauhu Ashwaha. So, if you say cow, horse, it doesn't, the sentence doesn't have any meaning. You can't say Bhagatyaga Lakshana and all that because it doesn't make sense. Okay. And another example they say is uh, the Jalena Sinchati. The water is sprinkled, fine. But Vannina Sinchati, through fire it is sprinkled. Doesn't make sense. Similarly, Tattvamasi doesn't make sense because Tatpadena, If it is Ishvara who is Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, he is like so powerful, he is spoken about. And Tompadena, if it is about this Alpajna, Jiva is spoken about. The Asipada won't make sense because they are mutually contradictory, the Tatpada and Tompada. Therefore, you have to interpret it as Atatvamasi. Again, this is their contention. Okay. Anyway, so we can't get into that debate now. It will go for a long this thing. But the point is, if you take things in isolation, there's only one Shruti Vakya which says somewhere one particular thing. You can always claim that it has been misinterpreted. You have to clearly re-look at how you understand it. But here, the Nana Shruti is there. This kind of Vakyas, Abheda Vakyas, are there across many Shrutis. Now, how many of these will you actually now go and negate? Brahmaiva idam sarvam. This is Dvaiti, they will try and interpret. Okay. Then finally, I heard somewhere that Bhagavatam supersedes even Veda because it has the highest thing, all those things. So now the Pramanya Buddhi itself, if you shift it to Bhagavatam or something and then bring down the Shruti's validity, then what will you do? Anyway, so now coming back, therefore, Nana Shrutibhyaha Dvaitasya Asatvam Siddham. There are many Shruti Vakyas, Apaurushaya Vakyas, which show that the Dvaita Bhava is there. So, which means now, since there are so many places where Dvaita Bhava is spoken about, then all the Srishti Vakyas, whatever Srishti Krama that is spoken about, has to be understood with the Tatparya of, see, Srishti is still okay. Nobody is saying, you have to throw away those Vakyas. But what is the import of the Vakya is all that is here is Brahmaiva, because they were born from Brahma. Karyam Karanat Ananyate. Therefore, the Karya Jagat that you see is not separate from Karana. Like the clay has become the pot. That means pot is not nothing but the clay. Pot is not a separate entity, but all that is there is only clay. That is the Tatparya of the Srishti Prakriya. Even Avastatraya Prakriya, all these things to show that Ananyatvam of Jagat with Brahma. So then the sentences now they make sense. Atmaiva idam sarvam is what is said by Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha Akashad Vayuhu Vayoragnihi Agni. See, now both of them have made sense. All that is here is Atma, is what Chandogya says. Taitriya says Atmani Akashas Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha Akashad Vayuhu Vayoragnihi Agnerapaha Adya Prithivi Prithivya Vashadeha Oshadibhya Annam Annad Purushaha Savayesha Purushaha Annarasamayaha Atmamayaha. Because Annam comes from Atma only, no? So Atma iva idam sarvam. Then even there, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yo Vedani Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yo Ved, then what is that? Brahmavida apnoti param tadesha abhyukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yo Vedanihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman, So Oshnute Sarvan Kama Ansaha Brahmana Vipaschiteti Tasmadva Yetasmad Atmana Akashas Sambhutaha. So Tasmadva Yetasmad Atmanaha, and that Tasmadva points to Brahma. Brahmavid apnoti param. Tasmad Brahmanaha Sakashat Yetasmad Atmanaha Akashaha Sambhutaha. From that Brahman which is this Atma, Akasha is born. Therefore, Brahman is Atma. Brahma idam sarvam, Atma idam sarvam. Therefore, all that is here is born from Brahman or Atma. All that is here is nothing but Atma or Brahman. Now, Chandogya Vakya, Taitriya Vakya, and even this Brihadaranyaka Vakya, idam sarvam idayam Atma, all make sense now. Yatra hi dvaitam iva bhavati. This iva is what is that Srishti. आत्मनः आकाशसम्भूतः आकाशवत् यद् दृश्यते तद् आत्मैव, therefore द्वैतम् इव भवति. It is like as though there is dual. So for you to, dual means attribute with attribute. That is how we need to understand. Sataha hi उत्पत्तिः प्रलयो वा स्यात् न असतः ससविषाणादेः. So if there is no Dvaitam, that means Dvaitam is asatyam. It is not satyam as per the Shruti Vakya. So we are talking on the basis of Shruti. Okay, forget Yukti now. For now. So Shrutitaha, suppose you come to know that all the Jagat is asat, then how can Shruti claim Utpatti? Sataha hi Utpattihi. Only for that which is Sat you can say a real birth is there. Pralayo vasyat. If a part was a new entity born, then you can say this is when the part was born. But you can now only say this is when the clay assumed the shape of the pot. But then don't ask, does that mean the Sat which was Sat has assumed the shape of the Jagat? No, that is not the intent of the example. See, in the case of example of pot and clay, there is also the second entity called space. Then you have water and all those things, right? Now, therefore, the example is limited only to say that all that the pot is nothing but clay. That's all. So there is a some kind of change that can be seen in the case of clay pot because of space. Now, earlier there was no space in between the clay to the extent when it is in the pot. Now the space separates how the different parts of the pot is. Okay, that determines the shape of the pot. Okay, so now there is a second entity there. So now we cannot assume the Jagat also the same way Brahman has now gotten into a shape of this Jagat. No, no, no. That is not the intent here. The intent is to just show that all that the pot is nothing but clay. That's all is the scope of the example. Therefore, this Jagat Utpattiri eva is not Satyam. Sataha ki Utpattihi Pralayaha va syat na Asataha. For the Asat Jagat, the non-existent Jagat, other than it being Brahman. Okay, non-existent means not Shunya. Like the pot doesn't exist other than it being the clay. You cannot think of a clay pot without thinking of the clay. In every cognition of the clay pot, the clay has to is always there. Similarly, in everything that you cognize in this Jagat, it is pervaded by the Sadvastu, which is Brahma, your awareness. Other than it being there, there is nothing. Therefore, there is no question of Jagat as a separate creation having happened. Asataha Shasha Vishana Dehe Nahi Utpattihi. The rabbit's horn is not born. You cannot say it was born 20 years back because it doesn't exist. Napi Advaitam Utpadyate Praliyate Va. Okay, the Advaitam, when there is no attribute, there is no second thing, there is no question of it modifying or being born or getting resolved. Because Advaitam itself means when you mean to say there is birth, you are implying time, isn't it? Birth means the first thing you are implying there is time. At some point, before a point of time, this does not exist, did not exist. After this point of time, it existed, means there is birth, right? That is what is the definition of birth. But time itself is Brahman. Time depends on Brahman. It itself is created. Then how can you talk within time? as something. Time itself doesn't exist on its own. So Utpatti Pralaya for Advayam Vastu is not, it's not even conceivable. Okay. Therefore he says Advaitam cha Utpatti Pralaya Vachaiti Vipratishiddham. It is contradictory, it is not understandable, it's not a comprehensible. Because when you say Advaitam, there is no time, there are no objects, there are no attributes, there is no guna. Then our Dvaiti will say that means there is no such thing. You just, I heard there is ISKCON guy talking. At least Buddhist was honest. This is what he says. This Dvaiti ISKCON guy says. Buddhist was honest. He says everything is Shunya. But Shankara was not honest. He says there is Bhagavan Brahman, but he is formless. That means you are technically saying that there is no God. So you are just using a convoluted way to say there is no God, like what Buddhists said, but by using Veda. This is what is this logic. Formless means is not. See, he is trying to objectify a formless. This is the problem. The ISKCON guy, what he is trying to do is he is trying to objectify some formless. That which cannot be objectified is formless, and that which is objectifying everything else cannot be objectified. So simple. So that which cannot be objectified is you, and that is formless, because for a form means it has to be objectified, right? Otherwise, where is form? Form needs to be available for you as an object of perception. But here we are talking about the swarupa of the subject, which perceives forms, but itself is formless because it is Chaitanya only. It's pure consciousness. Shuddha Chaitanya. It's a basic of Advaita. This itself they don't know. So, and they come to stage and he has like thousands and millions of views, I'm telling you. These are people, see, I'm okay if people make contentions, Vada, fine. But first try to understand the basic of what is being spoken about. Then you contest, okay, how can your self itself be formless? That's fine, right? This is your point. You want to understand, you want to have a debate, that's okay. But you assume that formless means you like some other religions talk about formless God, right? Who sits in a heaven. They think that's what Shankara told and all that. It's not what Shankara told, it's what is there in the Shruti Vakya, which he wrote Bhashyaman, right? It's not Shankaracharya was not a Sampradaya Krit. He's Sampradaya with only. He also, in the same Mandukya Karika, this Upanishad Karika Bhashya, he has written verses in praise of his gurus. So he is also part of the Sampradaya only. It's not something that he has created. But that's what they say, because they don't have legs to stand on, no. So they have to somehow scold without making a minimum effort to understand what is being spoken. So that is the problem. Advaitam cha utpatti pralayavachaiti vipratishiddham. So you can't say Advaitam as well as Utpatti Pralayavati. Utpatti Pralaya means it should imply time, it should imply forms, it should imply attributes, it should imply parts. Birth means something it didn't exist, then existed, then grew. Asti jayate, vardate, viparinimate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. Shadbhava Vikara has to be there. And if you have to have Bhava Vikara, that means you should have attributes, you should have parts. A child is born in a very 2.5 kilos, then it grows to 3 kilos, 5 kilos, 10 kilos, 70 kilos, 100 kilos, whatever. The hands grow, stomachs grows, hair grows. So there are parts, there are attributes, there are so many things have to be there. All this is Dvaitam. You're not even so like Visishta Advaitam means Sajatiya. Swagata Bedam is there, like one body which has hands, legs, and all that. So I am an Advaya human being because Visishtadvayan. I have my hands, my legs, my stomach, but still I am one person. That kind of that is also Dvaitam only because you have parts. Hand is not same as legs. Means it is not Advaitam. It is Dvaitam only. Hand is different from leg. No, how can you say it is Advaitam? Maybe it is all connected together. That's fine. But that's not Advaitam. So when you have parts, when you have attributes, when you have guna, that is Dvaitam only. Then only the Utpatti Pralaya is possible. Shadbhava is possible. If it is pure Advaitam, there is no possibility of Utpatti Pralaya. So Advaitam cha Utpatti Pralaya Vachchaidi Vipradishiddham. So natural question is, does that mean that you are talking about Shunya? That's what we'll ask. He will ask, right? Everybody will ask that question. See, you don't have something to objectify. What is this Advaitam? I am not seeing it. So Purvapakshi asks, Yastu Punaha Dvaita Samvyavaharaha Saha Rajju Sarpavate Atmani Pranadi Lakshanaha Kalpitaha iti Uktam. Nahi Manovikalpanayaha Rajju Sarpadi Lakshanayaha Rajjuam Praleha Utpattirva. So he is summarizing. न च मनसि रज्जुसर्पस्य उत्पत्तिः प्रलयो वा न च उभयतो वा तथा मानसत्व अविशेषात् द्वैतस्य न हि नियते मनसि सुषुप्ते वा द्वैतं गृह्यते अतः मनोविकल्पना मात्रं द्वैतमिति सिद्धम्. So we will see this in detail in the next session. Bhashyakara concludes saying that manovikalpana matram dvaitam. Dvaitam is only like in the dream. It's not like your imagination, but it is in a vrityatmaka anubhava only, like in the case of dream. He says it doesn't exist in niyate manasi sushukteva. When the mind is in nirvikalpa samadhi, or even in between two thoughts, dvaita doesn't exist. See, if it is dvaita is real, is your own guna, then it should always exist. There cannot be a time when dvaita doesn't exist. But in between two thoughts, when you are not thinking anything, that time itself Dvaita doesn't exist. And in deep sleep, Dvaita doesn't exist. Or even when you are able to go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi for a stretch of time also, Dvaita doesn't exist. Like Sutre Manigana Iva, they say, there are places where you don't see any beads. There is only thread in a necklace. Like that, there are times when there is no Dvaitam. That means Dvaitam cannot be intrinsic to you. If it is intrinsic, then it cannot not exist at any point in time. So similarly, that's what he says, concludes. But then, very interestingly, this Purvapakshi comes and says, Yedi evam dvaita abhave shastra vyaparaha na advaite virodhat तथा च सति अद्वैतस्य वस्तुत्वे प्रमाण अभावात् शून्यवाद प्रसंगः द्वैतस्य च अभावात्. So you are saying the Shastra is only negating Dvaita and it is not able to show you what is Advaita because Advaita is not available for a vritti as an object. So your Shastra, Veda Shastra is negating all Dvaita, Jagat, but it is not itself revealing what is the Vastu. That's what he says, Purvapakshi. Okay. That means all you have achieved is only dismissing the world. Like our Dvaitis are saying, no, you are saying world is Maya. But you are not able to show what is the Advaya Brahman because it is not available for objectification. Therefore, Shunyavadaha. There is only total void. What you are achieving through by using Veda is to just dismiss the entire world and achieving what the Buddhists are trying to achieve by negating Veda. The same Shunyavada is what you are achieving, is what the Purvapakshi tells. Now we will see the answer in the next session. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.